All right, welcome to week 3 live session. This session will cover chapters 7, 8, and 9. But I'd like to start off with talking about the discussion question from last week on use of force. Police use force is a hot topic. What should an officer do when confronted with a traffic violator who refuses to sign a citation? The officer may arrest on the stop or let the violator go and get a warrant. What would you do? Very good topic of discussion. Now these change from state to state, laws on refusing to sign traffic citations and what options the officer has available to him. Now in Florida, let's go back a couple of years ago. I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago, we had no choice. We arrested the violator for refusing to sign a citation. This is why. It is a court document. Basically, you have 3 options on a citation. 1, pay the fine. 2, protest the ticket in court. Or 3, pay the fine and go to school and have the points taken off your license. You can elect to go to school and have the points taken off your license. Well, by signing that citation, the violator is given, hey, you have 3 options. He's signing it saying he's going to do one of the 3 options. It's not signing it because he's guilty. He's just signing it saying that he's going to abide by the court rules, what the court wants him to do. Just because he signs it doesn't mean he's automatically guilty or he believes he's guilty. But the officer needs to explain that to the violator and just say, look, I have this citation here. I feel you're in violation of whatever traffic violation it is. These are your options. Signing here is not an admission of guilt. It's just saying that you will do one of the 3 options the court is mandated by the court. At that point, if the violator still refuses to sign a citation, I would tell him, look, sir, ma'am, I can't let you leave here unless you sign a citation. You either are going to be arrested and be booked into the jail, or you can sign a citation and deal with this on another day. It's completely in your hands. A lot of times, a matter of how you present it to the violator, they'll understand. So if they still refuse, I would then give them several more verbal orders, and I'll talk about verbal orders here in just a second. If they don't comply, the officer has to use a reasonable amount of force to take the individual into custody. He has to use enough force that he is challenged with. If it's just simply not getting out of the car, he has to physically remove the individual out of the car and place them in handcuffs. If they still fight outside the car, you can resort to taser or other type of compliance weapons. But at the end of the day, back a couple of years ago, we had no choice in Florida. You went to jail. It was Florida, because we cannot as law enforcement officers turn in citations unsigned. It's against policies and procedures. We talked about that in the discussion question. And some of the states, other states, still have where they have to take them to jail. So it's up to the state you're in, policies and procedures, and so forth. Now they've changed that. Now in Florida, if the violator refuses to sign a citation, they made it a lot easier. All we have to do is write, defendant refused to sign, and turn the citation in. We're good. Policy and procedures are fine with that. And that has really helped a lot, because a lot of people, it's just they didn't know. They didn't know by not signing a citation, or signing a citation would mean a portion of guilt, which is not the case. It's just saying that you're going to comply to one of the options, whether you plead guilty or not guilty to the citation. Next is use of force. You see it all the time, and there's always going to be bad apples out there. I mean, no agency is perfect. You're always going to have the people that cross the line, and you got to understand that. And you try to keep it to a minimum, and when you do find it or run across it, you take the proper steps to correct it. But at the end of the day, even on a traffic stop, if an officer decides to take the traffic stop out of the car, take the violator out of the car, or gives the violator a verbal warning, that is a lawful command. We have some more that's joined. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, let me check you off the list real quick. Who do we have here? Go ahead and state your first name.
Elliot.
Looks like we have Elliot, Lisa, and who else? Those of you who joined us late, we're talking about the discussion question from last week, going over use of force and the traffic stop. And we're talking about verbal commands. If an officer gives you a lawful verbal command, you have to comply. If you don't comply with the verbal command, you can be arrested. It's called obstruction of justice and or resisting arrest. It's the same charge, same statute. It covers both. So basically, if I tell you, hey, get out of the car, and you tell me no, you're refusing a verbal command, correct?
Yeah.
You're subject to go to jail. Some people don't understand that, and it's not that simple. It usually doesn't go that, hey, get out of the car, no, you're going to jail. No, we'll try. It needs to be explained. You know, look, man, sir, I'm giving you a verbal command. I'm giving you a lawful order. Please step out of the car. Please comply with this order. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to take further action. We don't want to go down that path. We just want to accomplish what we want to accomplish at the end of the day. Whether a lot of times, I'll tell you this. I've had a few times where I'm as a detective and I'm on the scene. I'm investigating a crime or shooting or something, and I've had people, family members come up and they kind of get in the way. They're obstructing my investigations. And you just got to tell them, hey, you got to get back. You got to do this. You got to let us do our job. But if they continue to interfere, what they're doing is interfering in my investigation. And I gave them several 2 or 3 commands to stop. They're going to have to go to. They could go to jail. Simple as that. But you want to pick your battles. I mean, this day and age, it's not that simple. And another good option. We have a lot of wind noise in the back there with somebody. All right. But if we have a violator that's starting to get aggressive or starting to not comply with verbal orders and so forth, I mean, there's nothing wrong with calling for backup and waiting. Say, okay, sir, man, we'll be right with you. Just wait. But call for backup and have somebody there with you for your safety. Because remember, when you stop somebody or you're out with somebody, you don't know this person at all. You have to be safe. The main goal is going home at night. You have to be safe. If you're working in your environment, don't be afraid to call somebody else to help you or just to be there with you. Sometimes, he or she, violator, may not give you such a problem if you're not by yourself. Maybe if there's somebody there with you and some people can talk to people differently. I find that all the time with my guys. They're having a problem. Once I arrive there and I start talking to them and go a different direction or a different avenue and talk to them a different way or just something different, sometimes it usually de-escalates the situation. It really makes a difference of how you treat others. Treat them as you want to be treated. I'm sure everybody's heard that before. Does anybody have any questions on the week 2 discussion questions? about the traffic violator refusing to sign a citation.
Yeah.
I had. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
This is Latika, and I didn't understand it at all. Like, I was lost.
On the refusing to sign a citation?
Yeah, on the discussion question. I guess I never was introduced to it, and I was just confused.
I think what the book is trying to say, what they want you to do is they want you to choose discretion. There is no wrong answer because the law varies in different states. So it's basically just wanting to know how you would use discretion on if this came up. If you were faced with this situation, how would you deal with it? So there is no wrong answer about, no, I would let him go, I would get a warrant, I would choose my battles. That is a perfectly good answer. I was just going to give you the insight of what we did in Florida a couple of years ago and what we do in Florida now. And if you don't refuse to sign a citation now, we just write refuse to sign and we go about our business. See, we're not going to get in a big argument over a citation. No, we pick our battles. It's not worth it. Does that help you?
Wait, I'm sorry, I apologize. Not week 2 discussion question. I'm talking about week 3 discussion question.
Okay, we're getting there. We're almost there yet. This week on this session, we're going to do something a little different. Instead of going over the 3 PowerPoints or the 3 chapters in the PowerPoints, we're going to talk about these discussion questions. And I'm going to leave it up to you guys to look over the PowerPoint for chapter 7, 8, and 9. And then we'll just talk about these discussion questions, okay? All right, so if you don't have any more on the use of force, we'll move on to the week 3. All right, we had another question on the use of force?
Yeah, this is Elliot.
Elliot?
I wanted to know, like, you're a police officer out there and you have people that, if they constantly refuse to, do you worry about that making y'all look weak as a police department?
Say that one more time. My volume is a little bit low.
Yeah, I was asking, like, you know, as y'all, like a police department, constantly having people to refuse, like, citations and everything, doesn't that make y'all look, like, weak as a police department? How do you feel on that situation?
No, not at all. And actually, we rarely run into this problem. Usually, if you can just explain to them that they're not signing that they're guilty, they're just signing that they're going to take care of it, take care of the citation. So no, they don't. We don't have that problem. And also, it's just a procedural. Just because they don't sign, that's fine. We'll explain to them. Okay, ma'am, sir, you don't have to sign. Here's your copy. It's up to you to take care of it. And but no, not at all.
Okay. Because when I was a police officer in Breaux Bridge, you know, my sergeant would tell me if people wouldn't sign a citation, go ahead and arrest them for it, because you don't want to keep letting people slide with that. And then they start, you know, thinking that I would be a weak individual and try to challenge me.
And a few years ago in Florida, we used to have to do the same thing. They have changed that. About 4 years ago, they changed that in Florida. Before, we would have to arrest. You refuse to sign a citation, that's a court document. We can't turn it in not signed. We had no other alternative. According to state law and policy and procedure, we have to take you to jail. So yes, we would arrest back then, and some states are still like that.
Yeah, it's still like that out here in Louisiana.
Yeah, but they have no other choice. They have to. I mean, if they can't turn in an unsigned citation if it's against policy and procedure, that looks bad on the officer. Then it would show the officer is not doing his job or weak, portrayed weak, like you're talking about. So yes.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you just write RTS? RS, you know, refuse to sign as far as instead of just arresting them and taking them to jail? Or because my experience as far as when I used to get a ticket, I just used to write like scribble scratch, or I just signed Tweety Bird. But
well, you got to remember, you're signing a court legal document saying that you're going to do something. You're going to comply with the options on the ticket. That's why, if you don't have a signature back then, we wouldn't have something stating that the violator or defendant would comply.
Yeah, because our DA, he wouldn't even accept a ticket unless it was signed.
Yes, and it used to be just like that in Florida about 4 years ago. But I mean, it's changed. Times have changed, and they're kind of involving with it. But now in Florida, we don't worry about it. We just write refuse to sign and send them on their way.
Okay.
Interesting.
You got to remember, the laws are different in different states. Little things like that are different when you go state to state. And you just told me Louisiana is exactly the way we used to be 4 years ago. You don't sign a citation, it's a arrestable offense.
Yeah.
Okay, this is my last question because I'm actually from Louisiana. I just live in Georgia now. But is it stated, like, does a civilian know that, you know, if you don't sign this document? Because, like you say, in Florida, it used to be like that. But, you know, some people still have the mentality of how it used to be as opposed to how it is now. And they'll still be trying to arrest people. But as a civilian, do you know, hey, I don't necessarily have to sign this?
Then I would
like, what are y'all laws, or how do people know? How do you advocate as far as to let people know that you don't necessarily have to sign this?
Because the officer should explain it to them. He should explain, hey, look, this is the citation. You violated this offense. All right. Now, I need you to sign the citation, but however, it's not an admission of guilt. This is just signing saying you're going to have to do these 3 options. And then you explain the 3 options to them. They need to educate them on that, you know, and help them out. That's why I said good communication. Just let them know up front, hey, this is what's going on. This is what's happening. Or in my case, you don't have to sign this, but here, you can sign this right here. I don't have to have you to sign it because I'm not required to, but you still have to comply with the 3 options. And we have to explain the 3 options. But communication is definitely the key. All right, we'll move on to any other questions? Because that was pretty good. Everybody seems to be staying involved.
And I'm good.
All right, the next week 3, police officers contend that civilian review boards are not needed and that citizens do not understand the police role and therefore cannot be objective when investigating the police. Can this opinion be substantiated? Why or why not? Who wants to go first on this one?
I would.
Okay, go ahead.
Me, I'd say it can be a civilian review board. Basically, they're not qualified. Well, in my opinion, I'd say they're not qualified to investigate police officers because, like I had in my my discussion piece, civilians aren't. They're not in that situation every day. They're not with that ever-growing stress that's on a police officer. You know, in that moment where they have to make a split moment decision and how they react to it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You know,
I agree.
There's other police officers. See, like when I used to work for Bro Bridge, we didn't have an internal investigation, or we didn't even have a review board for investigating police officers. We either had the state troopers off the highway, or we had the sheriff's department investigate.
An outside agency, and that's exactly what we do, an outside agency.
Yeah, because most people don't understand, like, civilian review boards, basically they don't have to go through all that stress each day. Like how police officers, whenever they pull somebody over, they be like, okay, he's getting out, he has something in his hand. What is it? Could it be a harmless cell phone, or is it a gun? You know, the adrenaline of the job makes a type of stress that sometimes police officers get used to, and they react whenever it changes. You know, sometimes it could be like to where they legitimately believe that their life is in danger, when in most reality that is not. But like I was saying, that's a growing stress that's on police officers, and they have to adjust and react to it in a split moment. Because if they don't, there could be the meaning between life and death for them or other civilians that surround them.
Correct. Yeah, very good. Civilian review boards are made up of strictly civilians, non-law enforcement, sworn personnel. So
Yeah.
are they gonna know law enforcement's policies and procedures and the way that they operate and be educated on law enforcement, I don't know, tactics and the way of their training and the way the process in which they carry out each task? No. But on a positive side of civilian review boards, they are normal people. They do have common sense. They can listen and they can hear the testimony from the officers and witnesses, and they can kind of put it together for themselves. Because think about it this way: a trial, it's made up of a jury of our peers. The jury is not law enforcement, right? They're just regular people. Now we have to present the case to the jury, and the jury has to believe beyond a reasonable doubt that he's did or did not commit the offense that he's being tried for. So we put people's lives in jury's hands all the time, and they're just civilians. So I can kind of see both points. We don't use civilian review boards because we use an entire outside agency. If we have a police involved shooting in Florida, we call Florida Department of Law Enforcement. So we have an unbiased outside agency come in and investigate the entire thing. We have no say-so, no involvement in the investigative process. They do their own thing, and then they give us the results. Or if somebody does something wrong, they discipline. They recommend discipline, and so forth. So it's kind of like a civilian review board, but they're not civilians. They're law enforcement. It's an outside source. So that's how we do it in Florida. All right, who's next? I know one of you had the question on civilian review boards and wasn't sure about the discussion question, but there is no wrong answer. It's police departments don't think they need them, or they do, and that citizens do not understand the police role, therefore cannot be objective. Well, they have common sense. They could be objective, and they may not understand the investigative process, but they just want to know, hey, did he use excessive force or did he not? I mean, where's the line there? Sometimes it's hard to judge. And also, as law enforcement and police officers, you're out there making split-second decisions. Just like you talked about, shoot or don't shoot. Does he have a cell phone in his hand? Does he have a gun in his hand? He's 20 yards away, right? He pulls that cell phone on law enforcement, and it looks like a gun. It's black. It's dark. You have, what, 2 or 3 seconds to decide? And your life is on. It's tough. Now, the officer, it shoots and ends up it being a cell phone, and it goes in front of a review board. How are they going to view that? Because they have days, they have weeks to go over this case. That officer only had 2 or 3, 4 seconds to decide. Is that fair?
It ain't.
It's tough.
No, it's not.
It's real tough.
But actually, in Eunice, Louisiana, a guy did pull out a cell phone and pointed at a police officer. But the thing was, that cell phone was actually a loaded gun.
There you go.
Wow.
That's, yeah. What do you do? What do you do as a law enforcement out in the street? Do you err on the side of caution? You want to go home to your family. How about the reactionary gap? You ever heard of the reactionary gap of about, I think it's up to about 30 feet now.
Yeah.
If somebody has a knife and they're 30 feet away from you and your gun is holstered, and the reaction time, it's a study, it's a proven fact. That guy can run 30 feet to you and stab you with that knife faster than you can get that gun in your holster and shoot. So you have to be careful. You got to err on the side of caution. And don't forget, you do have training. training is a big key too. We have, I can't remember what it's called offhand, but it's scenario-based training. It's on a video screen. I don't know if you've ever heard of it or ever seen it. Anybody had any training with that? It's called Shoot or Don't Shoot. So you have a you have a gun that's hooked up to a machine that's got a cables on it, and it's in your holster, and then you watch these training videos, and you give verbal commands. You write a scene, and then somebody pulls a gun on you, and you have to react to what do you do, or pulls an object on you. You have to decide, shoot or don't shoot.
Yeah, I've had to do that before.
Very good training. It's very good because you have to pay attention. You can't let your guard down, and you have to rely on that type of training. I think that's more and more in law enforcement nowadays.
I've noticed, like in Lafayette Parish, where if the police officers do like stop, or they just doing, just basic watching out for traffic, to kind of kind of like see who's violating the law. There's always two of them, no matter where. And sometimes it's with the state too, because I've noticed it, especially like with Troop I, and sometimes with Troop B when I was living in New Orleans, that they would always double up. It seems like since 9/11, or especially Katrina, everybody, the police officers here are kind of scared to do solo. They always double up here lately. And, I mean, it's good to have that extra input on a traffic stop, because you don't know what these traffic stops are going to be like, or what the civilians...
The most dangerous thing a police officer can do is a traffic stop. One of the most dangerous things a police officer can do is a traffic stop. And you're always safety in numbers. You're safe in numbers. The more you have, the safer you can be. But it's always nice to, like, we try to dispatch 2 people to almost every call. Unless it's a dog barking complaint, we usually have 2 people going to every call. And it's just for safety. Because at the end of the day, you want to go home. I want to make sure all my guys go home at night and nobody gets hurt. That's the biggest thing. And we've had use of forces, and we've had stuff on calls that you would never think of. Like, how did you end up tasing somebody, have a use of force on a DCF or a Department of Children and Families call? It just happens. Just if you can never let your guard down.
Like, it's changed since Katrina. Like, when my dad was a state trooper, he's deceased now, but he was a state trooper out of New Orleans in Troop B for 34 years. Now, I see the troop now to where they, do things different now compared to what he did. Like, for instance, they've went to, instead of, like, me growing up, he had to handwrite everything. Now it's everything electronic. Everything goes into the database electronically. So, yeah. I mean, the things that I've, grew up on, and he's my inspiration, because I have my associates and I'm doing my bachelor's behind him. And I'm really struggling right now, because it's like, I wish I can reach out to him, but he's no longer here. So I do my next best thing, and I have friends that are somebody that watched me grow up that's on the department through the state. In fact, I talked to him last night. I wanted to get y'all opinion on this. Here lately in my house, I've been having an issue with my stepson, who wants to do law enforcement, but he thinks it's okay to just draw a gun out. Like, for instance, the other day, 2 days ago, I was actually trying to do homework, and he's here lately been so paranoid with everything that's going on. Any noise that he hears around here, he wants to go grab for the shotgun and run to the door. Well, when he unloads the shotgun, he did it to me the other night, like, over my head, and I'm like, you can't do that. Regardless if the gun is loaded or the gun is not loaded, 9 times out of 10, it can go off either way. And I try to get him to understand that, and it's like he's got a mental block.
Right. Oh, he's got to learn.
But in my personal opinion, he shouldn't have access to guns, because just like he put the gun over your head, unload it, is no telling what may run through his mind and put it under there. I just personally feel that no one under the age of 18 should be accessible to guns, and that's what causes problems. The most accidents are caused by, people just playing around, or basically just, have access to their parents' guns. So first and foremost, you should get that out of the house, a shotgun especially. And I understand that you have everything that's going on. You can't really be too, like you said, let your guard down. But a 12-year-old with a shotgun, even a 15-year-old, you know what I'm saying, that's still it's dangerous.
I mean, my dad was a state trooper, and he had a closet that, like, I would just be up when he got off of work at 6 in the morning. So I would run downstairs, and he would shoo me away when he took off his gun belt, because you never know when that gun is going to go off. I mean, he kept it loaded, yes, but of course it's a service weapon. It's going to stay loaded. But
yeah, you probably need to keep it under lock and key. Put it under lock and key, or put a gun lock on it.
It's just, and I'm sorry to be off subject, guys, but it's just bothering me,
He needs to
do something.
You can't solve problems with a gun. You need to solve them by communicating first. And
exactly. I've tried to sit down and explain to him, and he thinks I'm an idiot because, like I said, I've had this training not only as a young child, but I was raised around, law enforcement. So I know the ins and outs of it. And yeah, his dad's like, he kind of leans back on me, and it's like, you can't lean back on it. This, what if he keeps saying he came home from YCP. He did, because he's not he doesn't have a disciplinary issue. It's just he has the voice. Now I'm like, okay, you want to do law enforcement, but law enforcement's not just, hey, I can go carry around a gun. There's ins and outs of law enforcement. You have to have, follow procedures and everything else, and you just can't go up to, because he thinks law enforcement is just, hey, I can carry around a gun. No, there's things you have to do. There's traffic stops. You can't just, like we tried to explain to him the other day. What if you go on a traffic stop, okay, and the pedestrian is, very irate with you? So you're just going to get up and draw your gun or draw the taser or, beat him with the billy clip?
You got to be able to communicate. Communication. Maybe he should start off in corrections. Correction officers don't carry weapons.
Well, that's the thing.
I know out here, most police departments, you have to start in corrections before you.
Yeah, I did corrections 4.5 years before I can even go on the force. They make you do the jail for at least 6 months to a year. Hold up, I'm gonna check this deal.
Yeah, and I mean, I just wanted to get y'all opinion on it.
Hey, what's your driver's license number?
Who, mine or his?
No, I'm at work. I'm sorry. I meant to put my phone on mute. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm just, trying to get him, advice on how to sit down with him. And I asked a state trooper yesterday that watched me grow up. That was, again, watched me grow up, but now is on the force that my dad was on. And I asked him yesterday, I said, is there a way that we could do a ride-along with the state? And he was like, we don't do ride-alongs. So I said, okay, my next step is for him to do a ride-along within the parish. So that's what I'm working on. And I told his dad yesterday, I said, look, we need to do an intervention before he decides to want to do criminal justice. He needs to go you need to go set up a ride-along with the sheriff's department here before he starts school, to actually give him an insight of what he wants to, what he's getting himself into.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can go your whole career with never draw your weapon out of your holster.
Right.
No, that's not he needs to learn the other variables. But
and he needs to learn communication, because, like, for instance, I'm not trying to get personal, but I'm just saying, like, his little girlfriend came over here the other day, and he called her. She called him on a lot of stuff, and he wouldn't communicate with none of us. Like, we'll ask him a question, and he would ignore us. He has no communication, and communication is the number one thing in law enforcement. You've got to write, reports on everything that you do. You have to be able to communicate what, step by step of what you do, and
Yep, and justify your actions. So.
Yes.
I think we're about to run out of time here. I just got a little icon that popped up. So do we have any other questions or anything for this week? And this was a very good discussion, and I may try to do this again next week instead of going over some of the PowerPoints. Maybe we'll do this again, okay?
Derek, I'm just trying to understand. I know you're struggling with the APA.
Go ahead.
Be able to get through it.
Go ahead.
Hold on. By week 3, I should be able to go through my, understand what APA. I see, you kind of giving me advice, but I haven't really, understood the APA format. So I'm gonna get with my advisor today and see if she can give me some more insight on it.
Okay, there's also some programs that you can look at, Perla and a couple others out there that kind of help you go through it as well.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate it.
All right, you're welcome. You guys have a good week, and you let me know if I can do anything for you, and I hope you're enjoying the class. We're halfway done.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Okay.